And today he has come, and he's come here to deliver all the fallen souls like ourselves. So we thank Maharaj for his presence and being here. And we can get one more big Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Terrible. Anyway, Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. I'm just really happy to be here. It's been a long time. It's been, I don't know, exactly 3, at least 2.5, of course. Yes, but it may have been 3. Do you remember when I was here last? 2019, was it December? September. Okay. So yeah, it's almost 3 years. Wow. Amazing. But you've kept things going. Well done. And what a nice kirtan that was. That was a nice kirtan. We drove in. I got out of the car and I heard it. And I thought, wow, who's that? Really? It's just wonderful. And the mridanga playing. I thought, my gosh, we got a professional here. Oh, it's great. ISKCON Newcastle has a really bright future. And thanks for wearing masks. I mean, who likes wearing masks? Gosh. But anyway, thank you. I don't know if you heard the story. Did you hear the story that Lord Yamaraj, we got a Yamaraj here too, but anyway. Lord Yamaraj, he was speaking with the Yamadutas, and he told them, listen, down on planet Earth, they're having this whole big COVID situation. So many people are dying, so I want you to just go down and just grab as many people as you can and bring them back to me. And we'll sort them out here on Yamaloka. Which, that's not very nice. And, but the only thing is, just bring people who you recognize, who you know who they are. So the Yamadutas said, right. And off they went. They came down. Well, actually told them, there's this place called Newcastle. Not the one in England, but the one in South Africa. And you've got some real candidates there. So the Yamadutas came. But then, and they did what they could, but then they went back to Yamaraj and they said, listen, you told us we can only take people who we can recognize. And so many people were wearing masks and we couldn't recognize them. So we couldn't take them. And today, Sadhana had a mask on and I didn't recognize initially. Excuse me, Sadhana. to do it. Anyway, shall I just do it? Yes, all right. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopijana Balava Giribaradhare Gopijana Balava Giribaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopijana Balava Giribaradhare Gopijana Balava Giribaradhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahangsa Parivrajacharya Tadasi Samadhis Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki ISKCON Newcastle Yatra Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the Assembled devotees. All glories to the Assembled devotees. All glories to the Assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Oh, Deva Prabhu Ki and Yogendra, ex-ISKCON Newcastle Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, devotees, I was asked to say something about how devotional service is a rare opportunity, very special opportunity, and therefore should be taken very seriously and really taken to heart. So I thought to begin we could read, I'll just read, Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verse 3. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. That's a famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 3. I think it's quite appropriate in this regard. The point there really is that, it's sort of similar point, maybe not precisely the same, but the idea is that devotees are rare. Devotees are really rare. I don't know what the population of Newcastle is. Is it, 25, 50,000 or something? How many? Okay, anyway, I could believe 60,000. I couldn't believe 750. So out of, just for argument's sake, shall we say 60,000? And we have here tonight, well, it would take a moment to count, but I don't know, what do we have here? 30 or 40 or 40 or not more than 50, I think, a little less. So we have here, if we say the population's 50,000, we have, what is it, 0.01 or percent. 0.01. That's not many, is it? It's really not many at all. I mean, you know, an interesting little point, though, is that Srila Prabhupada said, if just 1% of the population become pure devotees, then the whole world will be changed. So, yeah, so even it may only be 0.1%, 0.01 or whatever it is, just obviously very small fraction, but it's good, it's nice, it's very nice. But yeah, devotees are very rare. Other types of people are much more common. Of course, the materialistic people who just trying to get money and enjoy life in this world, obviously they're in the great majority. But then you also get the impersonalists, different varieties, who think that it's all one and God, the absolute truth, is not a person. There's more of them too than the devotees. So, well, I mean, a very important point is you are all very special people. Gosh, look around, and I'm looking around, and you're all really special people. Really, really special, special people. And of course you might say, no, I'm just sort of normal or something like that. But actually you're really special. You're really special because to understand Krishna and accept Krishna and give yourself to Krishna, even just a little, what to speak of, you know, really try and give your life to Krishna and become a committed devotee. That's really special. That's very, very special. So anyway, as far as this opportunity, appreciating the opportunity we have is concerned, there's an old saying, I think it's some old British saying or something like that. Have you heard it? Opportunity only knocks once. Something to that effect. You heard that? Yeah, so opportunities, you can't just, I mean, if a really good opportunity is there, it would be extremely unwise to say that, well, I think I'll wait till another opportunity comes. Because it might not come, because it only knocks once. Yeah. So, you know, at the very least, we've got the opportunity to advance in Krishna consciousness and go back to Godhead, to go back and be with Krishna eternally. And, you know, in Goloka Vrindavan, well, you've probably heard Brahma Samhita says that all the water tastes like nectar, every step is a dance, and every word is a song. It's much nicer than here in this world. And in Goloka Vrindavan, it doesn't get cold like it does here. I looked on the weather forecast, I think yesterday, must have been yesterday or maybe today even, but I think yesterday. And it said that this morning, today, it was going to be 0 degrees. Oh, Krishna, I thought, my Lord, what are we getting into here? Maybe we should have waited. But anyway, Madhupriya Prabhu came. Madhu Govinda came and Madhupriya. And a week ago to the temple in Chatsworth and inspired me. So here we are. Right. So, in terms of opportunity, in our scriptures, in our histories, there are people who had the opportunity but lost it. Yeah, lost it, you could say. Like really classic example in Srimad Bhagavatam is Bharat Maharaj. He had the opportunity for Krishna consciousness, actually. He had been a very advanced devotee. Even the Bhagavatam itself says he was on the level of bhava, means the beginnings of pure love of God, beyond just practicing and trying to become a devotee. It's part of perfect devotional service. Someone on the level of bhava is considered perfect. So he was on that level. But I think you know what happened to Bharat Maharaj. Somehow or other, it's a long story, of course, but he became attached to a deer. And he became very attached to the deer, to the point that when finally he left this world, when finally he passed away, he was remembering the deer. I mean, he was really just fixated, just focused on the deer. You could say he was in deer consciousness. I mean, it's actually a fact. So, he took birth as a deer. You know another famous verse from Bhagavad Gita? What is it? Chapter 8, verse 6. Yeah. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, tyajyat yante kalevaram, tam tam evaiti kontaya, sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So Bharat Maharaj's very classic example of missing out on the opportunity. Of course, a couple of lifetimes later, he managed to get it together, but in the meantime, he became an animal. And then even the life after that was also extremely difficult. Very difficult, but he made it through and he went back to Godhead. So he's really an example like that. Of course, an interesting point to consider is that it's not exactly that when the time of death comes, it's just coming, it's just about to happen, then somehow the devotees just got to gather around you and just sort of shout in your ears the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And then as you actually pass away, you're just hearing Hare Krishna. Of course, that's good. But it's not really that's sort of the main point. The main point, and it's there in the case of Bharat Maharaj, is that for months or maybe even a few years, but for some period of time, he was fixed in that state of mind. And therefore, when the time of death came, he was in that state of mind. Because it's not so much just when the time of death comes, you can just decide, oh, I'll think of Krishna. And there you go. It depends on what you've been cultivating. Yeah. What you're really tuned into over a period of time. Because actually, from what I understand, when people die, unless someone dies suddenly, in an accident, or maybe they're shot, but even when people are shot, it usually takes some time for them to die. They normally die from loss of blood, not just in the movies, shot, bang, he's dead, he's gone on the spot. And even Srila Prabhupada, when he left this world, he went into a state of like semi-consciousness, you could say, or virtually unconsciousness for some period of time before he left. Of course, there were devotees, many devotees chanting all around him, and right at the end he said Hare Krishna. But like in the case of Bharat Maharaj, he got into that consciousness over a period of quite some time. And therefore he was in the consciousness because he'd cultivated it and developed it. But anyway, he certainly missed the opportunity. He could have got out of this world and gone back to Godhead right at the outset. But he got delayed, and he might not have made it too. Then another one who lost the opportunity, but then he got it back again, sort of in an unusual way, was Ajamil, if you know Ajamil from the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam. Ajamil, in his childhood and youth, he was brought up in a very nice devotee family, Brahmin family. They're like priests, and they're very pure family, and they're all devotees. And he was brought up like that, and then he married a very nice devotee young lady, and it was like that. But then again, I think you know the story. He just got onto the wrong track. He got some bad association, and he went off track for years and years until he was right in his until the time he died. And then almost by accident, he chanted the name Narayan. Well, it was really by accident. I mean, he was referring to his son. He wasn't referring to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But although it just happened to be the name of the Lord, and as a result he was delivered. But he also, because his son Narayan, as we understand, was around 5 years old. So for 5 years, he had been, you could say, in some type of Narayan consciousness. Narayan, come here. Narayan, what are you doing? And all this sort of thing, as doting parents do. So he was very focused on the name Narayan, although not indicating the Lord, indicating his son, but nonetheless it was the name of the Lord. So, but in his early days, he missed the opportunity. And even when he chanted Narayan, the Yamadutas were there. He didn't actually die. He had a sort of a near-death experience. He almost died, but he didn't die. And he came back to consciousness after, this whole incident with the Yamadutas and Vishnudutas. But it had been such an experience that he decided to change his ways. And so then he became a devotee again. And he went to, I think, Badrinath, some sacred place up there. And there he lived with devotees, and he really focused on his Krishna consciousness and went back to Godhead. It's interesting. It's very interesting. So, but anyway, we've got the opportunity, and we should try and take it seriously. Srila Prabhupada, I was reading just this afternoon a couple of things Prabhupada said, and it was very strong, because there's a tendency for us to become complacent and think that, yes, I'm a devotee, I'm Krishna conscious, it's okay, I'm all right. And I don't need to really sort of pull myself together and make a special effort. I can cruise along in Krishna consciousness. But as Prabhupada said, casual will lead to casualty. Yeah. We're casual about our Krishna consciousness and not really trying to get into it and maintain a nice standard. You can easily become a casualty. So a couple of things Prabhupada said, I don't want to frighten you, but if it does frighten you, that's okay. I think someone's playing with a telephone and disturbing our system. So Prabhupada says, if I lose the opportunity for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, it is a great catastrophe, Prabhupada said. So those who are getting the chance of becoming Krishna conscious by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they should not lose the opportunity. It will be suicidal. Wow, Hare Krishna. So, and of course we don't want to sound too fanatical, but this is Prabhupada speaking. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, if we become absorbed in gossip, we will lose the opportunity to associate with sadhus, and therefore lose the serving mentality. That's sort of the essence of Krishna consciousness, you could say. And today, I don't know if you're aware, today's the disappearance day of Shivananda Sain. It's also the disappearance day of Swarup Damodar Goswami. They were two very close associates of Lord Chaitanya. I mean, both of them, but particularly maybe Swarup Damodar Goswami, but they were both very close. And I was thinking about Shivananda Sain, his appreciation of the value of the opportunity for becoming Krishna conscious. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a few stories about Shivananda Sain, but one really nice story, and it just illustrates this point, how he appreciated the value of this opportunity. is that, well, he would every year, he would lead a group of devotees. I mean, not just a group, but all the devotees, hundreds of them, like several hundred or something like that, from the Navadvip Mayapur area and around there. He would lead them. I mean, he would manage the group. He would take the group and make all the arrangements and look after them on the way from Bengal down to Orissa to meet with Lord Chaitanya and spend time with Lord Chaitanya and be there for the Rath Yatra with Lord Chaitanya in the middle of the year, like right around this time, more or less. So Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that 1 year he was leading the devotees, and they're walking, and it's about several hundred kilometers, something like that. It's really a long way to walk, because there were children there and elderly people, and so it was quite a thing. But 1 year, a dog, just a street dog, not some fancy pedigree dog, just some street mongrel dog, became attached to him, not just to the group or someone else in the group, but actually to Shivananda Sain, and just started walking with the group, with Shivananda Sain, for days and days and a few weeks. So this dog is walking, and he wouldn't leave Shivananda Sain. And of course, some people might think, this is just a street dog. What is this? Who needs this animal? But Shivananda Sain, seeing the dog's attraction, not exactly to Krishna consciousness, of course, but to a devotee, to himself, Shivananda Sain basically adopted the dog on the trip. And he would look after the dog. He would feed the dog every day. And on the way down the coast there's quite a number of rivers running out into the sea. And they'd have to take boats. And they'd have to pay. And he paid for the dog to go on some number of boats. I mean, he really looked after the dog. Yes, so it's just indicating, even though this is, you could say, just a dog, but he saw this is a living entity. This is a spirit soul. Jivera Swarup Hoya Krishnera Nityadas. This is an eternal servant of Lord Krishna who got all mixed up and messed up in the material world and now is stuck in this body of a dog. But somehow this dog has really become attached to devotees and to prasadam, and he would feed him rice. A funny little thing. One of our devotees from Limpopo area, before he became a devotee, he only became a devotee during COVID, and he had a dog. And the dog, of course, was brought up eating meat before this devotee became a devotee. And he didn't know what to do because he didn't want to feed the dog meat. So you know what we suggested? Feed the dog soya mince. And you can offer it, cook it, and you can offer it. And then he'll be eating prasadam. And now that dog is living on prasadam. And he loves the soya mince. Oh, prasadam. Anyway, dogs, yeah. Dogs are generally not so much appreciated by devotees. Krishna has a couple of dogs in Goloka Vrindavan, actually. But anyway, otherwise, dogs, they're not very clean. They tend to be aggressive. Things like that. But he took that dog under his wing because he felt this dog is getting the opportunity here. The opportunity to associate with devotees, get prasadam, and, we'll see what will happen at the end of the dog's life. So, but anyway, what happens? So you can see it's this principle of opportunity. He appreciated the value of the opportunity of Krishna consciousness. Then when he saw just a dog, so to speak, just a dog, indirectly being attracted, he felt, I've got to fan the spark and try and help the dog to progress, and he did. But if you know the story, what happened was that when they were just like a day or maybe two from Puri, they're almost there, he had to go and deal with some situations, organizational situations for the party. And he asked one of the other devotees to feed the dog his rice, and the devotee forgot. And the dog didn't get his rice. And the dog left to try and find something to eat and didn't come back. And Shivananda Sen was really disturbed. Finally, a day or a couple of days later, they arrived in Puri, and the very first thing they did, they went to visit Lord Chaitanya. So they went into the place there, and what did they see? The dog was with Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was speaking to the dog, talking to the dog and saying, chant, Krishna, Krishna. And the dog was chanting, Krishna, Krishna, in dog language. And when he did that, Lord Chaitanya would reward him. He would throw him some coconut pulp, which the dog would catch in his mouth. And when Shivananda Sen saw this, he was just so moved, so deeply struck, and feeling that he had offended the dog by not seeing that he got properly fed the other night. So just, with these emotions in his heart, he went over to the dog, Shivananda Sen, and offered his full dandavats on the ground to the dog. What can you say? It's really amazing because Shivananda Sen, such a great, great devotee and personal associate of Lord Chaitanya. And then it describes that then the dog, some days or just shortly after, the dog became a transformed entity. The dog would jump around on his back legs chanting Hare Krishna. And people would gather around the dog, as the dog was just doing like a Harinam, you could say. And then one day, just shortly after, the dog, just in the middle of one of his Harinams, he just dropped, left his body, and went back to Goloka Vrindavan. So you see, yeah. I mean, that's really nice. It's really just so nice. But it's all based on this principle of appreciating the opportunity and not becoming, sort of apathetic or something along those lines, which it's not difficult to do. So, with everyone, but particularly with other devotees, we should appreciate the devotees, and we should really try to deal very nicely with the devotees because they're very special, and we don't want to interfere with the opportunity that any devotee has for being Krishna conscious. They're already Krishna conscious, but I think it's possible to interfere with devotees' Krishna consciousness so that that person leaves Krishna consciousness, isn't it? I'm sure we've had a few devotees here who just sort of went astray and didn't really come back, so they lost the opportunity. But if we become the causes of them losing the opportunity by dealing with them in, sort of aggressive or just abusive, unpleasant ways, talking, not speaking to them nicely, it's really not good. Even if a devotee needs to be corrected, if a devotee is actually doing something wrong and you can see, look, this is wrong, then it's best not to go up to them and shout at them that, hey, what do you think you're doing, you stupid, or something like that. You should, ideally, if you're trying to intervene in the life of a devotee to sort of help them overcome a problem they have, of course, it's not so easy, but it takes practice, but you should really try to help them to see what's the right thing in such a way that at the end they walk away from you thinking that, yes, I want to improve myself. Not just, why did he chastise me? Something like that. Correcting devotees, that's a special service. But anyway, we read the statement of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. What did he say? That, what was it? That, that if we become absorbed in gossip, we'll lose the opportunity to associate with sadhus, and therefore lose the serving mentality. In Krishna consciousness, really, if we can develop the mentality, the mood of being the servant, and trying to find service, this is something very valuable for us. Very valuable. Let me tell you a little story. Maybe you heard the story. Did you hear the story? Srila Prabhupada, when he first took some of his disciples to India, then one day, not one day, but just one time, for maybe a week or so, they went to stay in the ashram of one of Prabhupada's godbrothers. And the cook, who was one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, cooked a feast for the devotees every day, just really amazing, expert cook. And one day, Prabhupada took lunch with the devotees. And Prabhupada was served first, and Prabhupada ate. He didn't eat so much. And then his remnants were distributed to his disciples. And one disciple, anyway, what to do? It's telephones, that's what it is. So one disciple was given a gulab jamun, which Prabhupada had taken a bite from. You could actually see Prabhupada had taken a bite from, so it's really special. Maha prasadam. And this was put on the devotee's plate, and the devotee sitting looking at it and thinking, wow, look at that, I got the mercy. But then another devotee came and grabbed it and ate it. And it went to the place of no return. Yeah, that's right. That was the end of the gulab jamun. And the devotee who had been given it, it was on his plate, but then it was stolen. He got really upset and went and complained to Prabhupada. Such and such stole my gulab jamun. I mean, it was your Mahaprasad. And he was hoping that Prabhupada would chastise the devotee. But Prabhupada said to the devotee who complained, Prabhupada said, oh, he was very intelligent. Then there's a little back and forth. And then Srila Prabhupada said, actually, there are two types of devotees. One likes to eat prasadam, and the other likes to serve prasadam. Prabhupada said, they are both good, but the one who likes to serve prasadam is better. Yeah. So to develop that service attitude, that is a special thing, a very special thing for devotees, for us to try and cultivate. It forms the foundation for our Krishna consciousness. And it's priceless, actually, because Krishna appreciates that mood of service. Krishna appreciates when the devotee doesn't just do things because they have to or because they should or just because it's the right thing to do, and not just like that, but the devotee is rendering service because the devotee wants to serve Krishna and the devotees. Krishna appreciates that. And I'll close by telling you another little story. This is the story of Putana, or it's connected with the story of Putana. That Putana, in her previous life, she was the daughter of Bali Maharaj, who was king of the demons. He's described in the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam. So, Bali Maharaj stole the universe from the demigods. He's king of the demons, so the demons were ruling the universe. And Krishna incarnated as Lord Vamana. And Lord Vamana came to deal with this. Lord Vamana came as a 5-year-old child, apparently. Little Brahmin boy looking very sweet, very saintly, and like very gentle and nice. And this girl, she's like a teenage girl or something like that. She saw this beautiful looking little child, and her motherly instincts were aroused, and she thought, oh, this child's so beautiful. I would like to have him as my son. She felt like that. But then, Lord Vamana, Bali Maharaj, the girl's father, offered Lord Vamana, I'll give you something, just tell me what you want, it's yours. And Lord Vamana said, all right, just give me 3 steps of land by my measurement. It's another one of our long stories, but what happened was Lord Vamana expanded himself and with his first step covered the lower and middle planetary systems. And his second step covered the upper planetary systems, and that's the whole universe. That's it. That's all there is. And then he turned to Bali Maharaj and said, you told me you'd give me 3 steps of land. You've only given me 2. You're a cheat. And he arrested Bali Maharaj and tied him up. And when the daughter saw this, she was shocked. This nice little boy, and suddenly does all these incredible and kind of nasty things. And so she thought that, all right, maybe I'll have this child as my son, but if I do, I'll kill him. And in her next life, she became Putana. And I think you all know the story. She was the first demon to come and try and kill Krishna. So she came in as Putana, came into the room. There's little Krishna, 3 months old in a cradle, just lying there, can't even roll over, what to speak of crawl, what to speak of walk. This little boy is just lying there. And Putana looked into the cradle and saw little Krishna. And little Krishna looked so beautiful that her motherly feeling from the previous lifetime became momentarily stimulated. Not for like half an hour or, like she really got into it, but just for maybe a couple of seconds, she had some motherly attraction towards Krishna. And then she tried to, then her mind changed again. She tried to kill him, but as we know, Krishna killed her. But when Krishna killed her, she went back to Goloka Vrindavan, and she's there now. She became a nanny in Goloka Vrindavan. Oops, excuse me. A nanny in Goloka Vrindavan. And, how could that happen? She was a demon. She actually tried to kill Krishna. And she was determined to do it. But Krishna overlooked that. And he accepted just that momentary motherly feeling that she had. Krishna's so kind. And Krishna appreciates so much service, a mood of service. Even if it's just something small in the midst of other types of ideas. So this is our opportunity, devotees, We got such an opportunity, and we should really try to make the most of it. We can go back to Godhead. We don't have to take birth again and go through all of this again. Yeah. We can go back to Krishna. This is the opportunity we have, so let's try and make the most of the opportunity. Let's really try and make the most of the opportunity. Hare Krishna. Well, we've got 4 questions. Sometimes I find myself noticing the faults of devotees. How can I overcome this and see the eternal servant of Krishna instead of the external covering? Well, that's a good point, good question. But you know, the tendency to find faults is, it's very difficult to completely, totally get rid of it. But what you got to do is, instead of looking for faults in others, where should you look for the faults? In yourself. Yeah. Look for the faults in yourself, because don't worry, you've probably got enough. And if others have faults, in most cases it's not going to really hurt you. It's just going to hurt them. But your faults, they'll hurt you. So that should try and cultivate that sort of idea. Yeah, look for your own faults. And you should, there's 26 qualities of a devotee. You should try and learn them. And then when you look around at the other devotees, you should try and see what qualities does this devotee have. You could try, it's like an exercise you could try and do every day. That every day I must meet a devotee and try and appreciate what qualities does this devotee have. Like, I can tell you one thing, our Anukul Krishna Prabhu, who's sitting here, he makes the best milk. with saffron. But you got to know the way to do it, otherwise you can put as much saffron in as you like, and it won't really help, and you'll just waste saffron. And sugar. Yes. So it's a good quality. It's just amazing, actually. It's so nice. So anyone, just because they're devotees, they do have good qualities. And we have to cultivate. Krishna consciousness means like conscious cultivation, directing your mind. So what should I think of? What should my attitude be? Not just automatic pilot, whatever comes into the head. So we should try and appreciate the good qualities of the other devotees and try and sort out our faults. There's a famous little story about, would you believe, perhaps you wouldn't believe, but Winston Churchill really used to criticize people. And he was criticizing someone, and one lady, some very famous lady, I forget who it was, someone like Lady Astor or one of the Vanderbilt family. And the lady said, look, you're saying he's like this and that, but actually he's got many good qualities. And she said, like, he's very humble. And Winston Churchill said, and he has a lot to be humble about. So we have a lot to be humble about. That's sort of like, it's not exactly a good thing, but at least, it should be difficult for us to become proud if we can really see ourselves for what we are, because we've got enough faults. We've got more than enough. What's the difference between revealing one's mind in confidence and talking about challenges in one's personal and spiritual life and complaining and gossiping? Yeah, revealing your mind in confidence basically means that you explain to a senior devotee who's capable of helping you, not just your pal, just have a chat, but someone who can help you. Going to them and explaining whatever difficulties you're having, and keep it to your faults, and just don't get into other people and their whatever is wrong with them. Try and do like that. Reveal your mind about you and not about others. Like another famous story that you might not have heard of. One devotee was complaining to Prabhupada about another devotee. He's like this, and he's like that, and he's too much, and I can't work with him. And Prabhupada said, well, he's a devotee. He's a devotee. So just try to tolerate him and try to work with him. But the devotee said, but Srila Prabhupada, he is like this, and he does that, and it's too much, and I can't work with him. And Srila Prabhupada said, he's a devotee. Please try to tolerate him as I tolerate you. So don't worry. Even though we're prone to have sort of at least minor delusions of grandeur, but don't worry. There's at least one person, and there may be a number, who are tolerating you. Oh no, it's not him again. Oh well, what to do? I'll hang in there. Yeah. How can we deal with challenging, discouraging interactions with devotees? It's very tempting to want to withdraw from their association altogether. Well, you can try and become more tolerant. Trinada pisuni chena, you know that verse. You can become tolerant, cultivate tolerance. And it's very difficult to cultivate tolerance without having something to tolerate. If you've got nothing to tolerate, how are you going to learn how to tolerate? Like if you know how to drive a motor car, how are you going to learn how to drive a motor car unless you try to drive a motor car? How are you going to learn how to operate a computer unless you try to operate a computer? How are we going to learn how to tolerate unless we practice tolerating? Yeah. So, because these things, through the practice of Krishna consciousness, the heart becomes cleansed, and so tolerance does develop. But still, we also have to make effort from our side how to learn and cultivate tolerance. So, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj would say, whenever I see a test coming, some challenge, some test is coming, I think, here comes Krishna in the form of the test. And then he would embrace those tests and not think, oh no. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, here's the last one. Is devotional service spontaneous? How do we inspire devotees to do service at the temple? Devotional service is often not spontaneous. It's something that has to be learnt, and when a devotee becomes advanced, then it becomes spontaneous. But particularly in the earlier stages, and we're all in the earlier stages, by the way, devotees. We're all new devotees. I have not even been a devotee 50 years yet. Not yet. Only 49. And almost 6 months. So I'm still a junior devotee. Yeah. So, well, anyway. So, we have to learn devotional service and gradually cultivate the mood. But, devotional service is so wonderful that if we appreciate how wonderful it is, then we can tell the devotees that, look, there's the service to do. And if you're actually feeling, wow, this is really nice, this is an opportunity, then we can convey that to the other devotee. And the other devotee will pick that up from us and feel, yeah, this is good. This is an opportunity. This is not just, they want me to do something. Yeah. So, of course, it's best based on that you have a real appreciation for serving. And then you can convey that it's wonderful. Not just that it's like hard work and something of that sort. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So what's our program now? Some sweets for me. That's nice. Yes. And I'll have the sweets. Okay.